have to keep that in mind. Hey, you can leave it out.
Ooh, you shouldn't have told me that. Chris, you're all over me. I love you, but, we'll update you later.
He said that, and then Cecil just left the building. All right, having same issue with the login. Let me try it again this way with yes.
I am going to all the kids.
I should have said that you want me to you can start with
Just check. Looks like the center and chat just to make sure. All right. I will wait until either I see
A response or 5:35, and then we'll get started. Well, now. There you go. Okay. All right, Lindsay is here. So now we'll just wait for Ms. Johnson-Hassel. No. I'm just because we just have 3 in our house, I'll go through a bunch of crud. So. All right. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Okay, good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday, December 19th, 2023 at 5:35 p.m., and we're calling the regular meeting of the Wake County Board of Education to order. I want to welcome those of you watching at home and those of you who have joined us here in person today. Our meetings are conducted for the purpose of carrying on the official business of the school system. The public is cordially invited to attend and to observe the board as it conducts its official business. Persons who willfully interrupt, disrupt, or cause disturbances at an official meeting may be directed to leave by the presiding officer. Members of the audience should show respect for the speakers by refraining from loud comments or other disruptions. Disruptions by any person or persons of a public meeting will be subject to action in accordance to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-17. And again, we do ask for everybody's safety that all attendees take a seat and remain seated during the presentation. All right, at this point, I want to establish that we do have a quorum. We have 7 of our members here present, and we have one of our members, Lindsay Mahaffey, who is joining us online. And so, Mr. Malone, when we vote, we'll have to remember to record Ms. Mahaffey's vote. All right. And so at this point, let's everyone stand and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, so turning to our agenda, the first thing that we have are our comments. We'll begin with our superintendent's comments and any updates. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening to you, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, and our esteemed attorney. It is a holiday season, so I will say happy holidays to all of our family members and constituents that are a part of Wake County Public Schools. I'll start by talking about our Hour of Code. Dozens of our schools last week participated in Hour of Code, the annual event that has become a cornerstone of computer science education here in Wake County and across the world. Hours of Code seeks to demystify the field of computer science, helping everyone learn the basics and inspiring some to pursue further study and even careers in technology. Many Hour of Code activities in our district this year focus on the benefits of design thinking principles, which encourage students to use critical thinking and creativity to solve real-world problems. I had the privilege of attending an Hour of Code event at East Millbrook Magnet Middle School last Tuesday alongside the State Superintendent, Catherine Truitt. Students rotated through 8 stations, including one where students helped design an adaptive keyboard for people with limited mobility. It was just great to see them engage in that event. It was inspiring to see how fully our students engaged with the challenges set before them and how adept they were in employing design thinking principles. Initiatives like Hour of Code help inspire a generation of learners who are fluent in technology so they can thrive in an increasingly digital world. Of course, technology is used effectively in each of our schools each and every day to support student learning. With support of our district's digital learning coordinators, teachers are continuously learning new ways to use technology in the classroom. This is a shining example of our strategic plan's first core belief, which states that students deserve to be challenged and engaged in relevant, rigorous, and meaningful learning every day. I'm grateful for all those who continuously adapt instruction to help our students gain the skills they need to succeed. Congratulations are also in order once again for Winston Pierce, the principal of Farmington Woods Magnet Elementary and the reigning Wake County Public School Principal of the Year, who last week was named the Principal of the Year for the state's North Central region. It was outstanding. I was among those who surprised Mrs. Pierce with the announcement in front of her entire school on Friday. I know board members Tyler Swanson was there with me, and we had an opportunity to celebrate her together. Ms. Pierce is everything a principal should be: caring, committed, hardworking, and constantly looking to improve. She has worked for the Wake County Public School System for more than 30 years, including the past 13 at the Farmington Woods principal. Under her leadership, the school has attained national recognition as a model for magnet excellence. In 2018, Farmington Woods was named the top magnet elementary school in the country by Magnet Schools of America. And earlier this year, it became a certified demonstration magnet school, denoting it as a school that exemplifies magnet school ideas such as diversity, innovative curriculum, and academic excellence. By being named Regional Principal of the Year, Mrs. Pierce is now a candidate for North Carolina Principal of the Year. I put a lot of pressure on her because I told her that I expect her to bring home the top prize. So I wish her best of luck and thank her for many years of exemplary service. 12 of our talented students visited the Governor's Mansion last week as finalists in the first ever spoken word contest hosted by the United Arts Council of Raleigh and Wake County. I was there along with the proud families and teachers to help cheer them on. Amy Lee of Green Hope High won first place, with Gracie Hatch of Southeast Raleigh Magnet High School finishing second, and Olivia Riddick of Green Hope placing third. It was not my intent for us to sweep the prize, but you know I will claim it every time. The talent and passion of these young poets and performers is evident. I encourage you to visit the Wake County Public School Facebook page, where you will find the full list of finalists and a link to videos showcasing each of their performers. Finally, this evening, in the spirit of the season, I would like to commend the students and staff at 3 schools for their outstanding effort to raise money for charitable causes. The annual Enlow Charity Ball raised $180,000 for Neighbor to Neighbor, a Southeast Raleigh-based nonprofit that helps students reach grade-level proficiency through one-on-one mentorships. Over the past 18 years, Enlow students have raised more than $1.9 million for local charities. I think this is outstanding. Students from the Chick-fil-A, Leader Academy of South Garner High School recently visited Barnwell Road, East Garner, and Bryan Road Elementary Schools to read to students, then provide each of them with a book and a Chick-fil-A gift card. The South Garner students visited more than 1,000 students in 67 classrooms in a single day. That's outstanding. And the students, staff, and families at Sanderson High School donated more than $30,000 and nearly 2,000 pounds of food to the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina. That equals 154,000 meals, so we know how very important that is this time of year. Sanders has been collecting donations for the food bank for now for more than 25 years. I know these are just a few examples of the community spirit and generosity embodied by our students and staff. I'm proud of everyone who found a way to give to those less fortunate this holiday season. Mr. Chair, that ends my comments.
All right, thank you, Dr. Taylor. Ho, 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 everybody. As we come to our last board meeting of the calendar year, it has been an exciting year. I think, I don't know anyone who's not ready for the year to come to an end and move on, but we'll have some exciting and really great things coming up in 2024. It's been an eventful week. There's an eventful couple of weeks. There's been some great things going on, and I don't want to steal the thunder from some of my board colleagues about some of the events, but I do have to make at least a quick mention about the Southeast Raleigh Magnet High School Talent Show. Oh my God, y'all, this was amazing. I will let the District 4 representative speak to it because she played a very special role in this program. She was not the winner of the program, but she still played a very special role. And if you did not go, then you do not know what it's like to be a Bulldog. I want to give special recognition to the folks that attended our District 7 Board Advisory Committee meeting. We had a fantastic program. I want to thank our speakers, Laura Wood and Bianca Howard. Ms. Wood is a teacher in our program, a North Carolina board certified teacher, one of our teachers with a master's degree, who is the Environmental Connections Integration Specialist at one of our magnet schools. Specifically, she's the Lincoln Heights Environmental Connections Magnet Elementary School Integration Specialist. You've heard Ms. Wood speak at a number of our meetings about sustainability. Bianca Howard works with Wake County government in talking about sustainability and things that are part of the county's efforts. And this is all part of what we've been talking about in Facilities Committee, the need to come together and look at what we do district-wide in terms of the sustainability of our district operations. But then we also had an opportunity to look at sustainability in curriculum and the lessons that our kids can learn just from the functions and things that go on inside the building. We had fantastic feedback from our principals, from our parents, our PTA leaders, our board staff there, and we were able to collect a lot of great feedback that we'll be sharing with our staff. One thing that I do want to address as we conclude the year, when you get back, I know it's hackneyed to go back and do a best of or hit all the highlights. What I want to do, I don't want to be negative, but I do want to address something that I've seen progressively get worse through the year and challenge you all on the board about ways that we might be able to address it going forward. And that has been the rise in what I'll call fight culture. We've talked about bullying, we've talked about cyberbullying, we've talked about incidents of violence, but a lot of these really seem to be connected, and they seem to be connected through social media. Now, we've had conversations we've seen in the news where different school districts around the country have brought actions against social media companies for some of the harm that they're alleging that they cause. We've seen attorney general's offices from around the country also come together and take on Meta, one of the bigger social media companies, from some of their practices in terms of their irresponsibility, in terms of the communications, the marketing to students. But one thing that I haven't heard in all of this, but I think it's something that we may be able to address locally, or if not, then maybe we can just put our voice to it, is just a call for these companies to do the right thing when it comes to fight culture. And what I mean by this is I'm not going to single out any individual school, but you all have seen them around. We have some in our district. There's others all around the state where you'll see a certain high school fights as an Instagram account, or the videos that are taken of fights and bullying that are put on YouTube. We know that fights and bullying are bad enough by themselves and the damage they can do to kids physically and psychologically. But when you magnify that, this is a threat that they didn't have when I was a student. To be able to take that fight, capture it, and broadcast it to literally millions around the globe, to have it exist in perpetuity, let alone just everybody at the school knowing. And that's before people start marking it up with their own comments, with their filters, with whatever, photoshopping or video editing they might do. I've studied, as you all know, I'm an attorney. I've studied the First Amendment. I've done First Amendment work. I don't understand how our social media companies can flag political speech and pull it down as inappropriate comment, but can't do something about this. Because when you are promoting and perpetuating a video that shows harm to minors, it may not be illegal, but it's sure irresponsible. And as we look to how we address a lot of the perpetuation of violence in our communities, maybe this is something we can do something about. I don't have the answer. I'm just trying to raise awareness of the issue. You all have seen it in individual cases, some higher profile than others, but many of the cases that will come before us in disciplinary hearings that we have to review. So it's a little bit early for New Year's resolution, but if I could just ask you all, let's make a commitment to try to find a way that we can address this in 2024. Thank you. And I'll turn it over, hopefully for more positive news, to our Vice Chair, Ms. Waters.
Thank you, Chair Haggerty, and thank you for lifting up and putting on our radars the need to really speak out against fight culture. So appreciate your remarks around that, and I'll certainly have that on my radar. And I'm really looking forward to the holiday season, as many of you all are looking forward to a rest break. And this is certainly the season that many of us refer to as the most wonderful time of the year. But I wanted to recognize for some that this can be a time where extra comfort and support is needed. Particularly the Mary E. Phillips High School community. They recently lost a student who was very special to everyone. So just wanted to continue to hold them in my heart and in my prayers. And we've certainly had Southeast Raleigh High School in our hearts and in our minds for the last days, and they will continue to be. A real bright spot, as Chair Haggerty shared, was their recent talent show, which was their first, and they started off with the bar very high. And Ms. Edmonds, I'm sure you would say that as well. So it was really nice to be able to experience the joy of the students in the school building and to see the talent, everything from duets to spoken word to the drum line to the step show. It was just a really great performance and a good time to really experience what the Bulldog Pride was in that building. It was so contagious. And so I had the opportunity to serve as a judge. It was very hard for me to judge because I have no talent of my own. And so all of them were so talented in my eyes. And so just really want to continue to just talk about the great things that are going on at Southeast. And if you are out and about in the community, please take a time to observe the amazing new artwork that is now on the building there. They've done an amazing job with the magnet theme to really talk about all the great programming that is in the school building there. And so also I've been stretching myself a little bit this holiday season, and I want to thank Miss Brown's class at Southeast Raleigh Elementary School for the opportunity to come over and read a Christmas book with the class and make a candy cane reindeer. You can do a lot with pipe cleaner and a candy cane, so a lot of fun being with first graders. Very sweet and very kind class, so I'm looking forward to getting back out to Southeast Raleigh Elementary School. They've had a lot of great programming in the last weeks to really bring in the community and bring in families, so it was good to be a part of that. And we don't often think about our school reach on the weekends, but I'm very grateful to have continued to be a part of the superintendent tour as we have visited some local churches. And on Sunday, the Temple of Pentecost was gracious enough to invite us to their Christmas worship experience, and it was just stellar. And so really appreciated being able to see some of our students and our families out on Sunday morning, and thanks to Ms. Webb for that opportunity to get out in the community. And I also wanted to highlight a historic moment in our community. I was really glad to have my middle schooler with me on Saturday morning to witness a historic swearing-in ceremony. The Honorable Jessica Holmes is now our state auditor. Holmes is the first Black woman to serve on the North Carolina Council of State, which is a collection of 10 statewide officials. So being able to see that was a really special moment for everybody in attendance, and I think it also it really helps us to see the value of representation and how important it is to have everyone represented in all levels of government so that we can be a stronger community as we continue to elevate the work that is important to all of us. And I echo Dr. Taylor's sentiments around the amazing fundraising that Enloe High School has done. Neighbor to Neighbor is an amazing organization that is near and dear to my heart, and so to know that they'll have some additional funding to carry out the important work that they do is really exciting. So as the season of giving and giving back is here, I wish everyone Merry Christmas, a happy holiday season, and all the joys that your heart can hold. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Waters. We'll now hear from our board members, and let's start with the board member who's traveling the farthest to be here, Ms. Mahaffey.
All the way from Apex, North Carolina, where the flu is alive and well in my household. So everyone, please be careful this holiday season. I'd like to thank everyone who came to our Board Advisory Council meeting last week. We were able to hear from Note in the Pocket and how they are able to go through their clothing that they receive, and every student that receives clothing through them gets 8 outfits that have gone through a rigorous process, and any clothing that they deem unwearable for our students gets recycled. And many thanks to former board member Ms. Cash for bringing this organization not to my attention, but just to allow our BAC members to think about how their students can help or be impacted by the work of this organization. And thank you to Dr. Taylor for coming and speaking to our Board Advisory Council members and answering their questions. We ran a little overtime, but it was all good work and good questions for sure. I do want to take a moment to highlight Herbert Akins Road Middle School. This is their second year as a school, and they have state finalists in the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow competition. The Nighthawks are working to tackle the problem of wildlife displacement due to new construction and infrastructure in our area. So very exciting to see a relatively new school already get recognized at the state level. So many congratulations to the Nighthawks, and I will wish everyone a happy holidays and a happy new year. Thanks.
Thank you. So we'll go around the table. We'll start with Ms. Edmonds.
Thank you. Congratulations to the Athens Drive cheer team. They've had a good month winning the WCPSS cheer competition and the state championship in the North Carolina High School Athletics Association competition. Last week, I had an amazing time experiencing talent in District 5 and District 4. I attended the Middle Creek High School Holiday Choral Performance, band performances at Holly Ridge Middle School and Athens Drive, and I joined, as was mentioned, Chair Haggerty and Vice Chair Waters at the talent show at Southeast Raleigh Magnet High School. There truly is an abundance of talent across our district, and I want to give a special shout out to all the arts educators who work with these students, our band directors, choral directors, coaches, and all the teachers that help develop and grow this talent among our students. A special thank you to you. Another thing I experienced last week was an escape room developed by the seniors in Middle Creek High School's Adobe Digital Media Academy. This was their senior project, and it was based on the novel Brave New World. This was my first escape room experience, and it did not disappoint. I was so impressed with their project. It was really a lot of fun. They converted a classroom into this immersive space with sound and video and suspense. And one thing I loved was that they incorporated the use of the old school wall-mounted cord phone in solving the puzzle. So it was definitely a high-tech event that showed off the skills that they've learned in digital media, but the use of some of old technology was clever and fun. I really was very impressed and can't wait to go back to see more of their work. All of these performances, the talent show, the escape room, the cheer competitions, the spoken word that you spoke about, Dr. Taylor, underscores for me what amazing opportunities that our students have in our school district and in our public schools. And as this month marks 1 year that I've had the honor of serving on this board, I just want to say what a joy it is to be able to experience all of this talent and be in our schools and be among our students and educators. I don't take it for granted, and I'm so proud of the great work that is happening in WCPSS. And I'll just say finally that I wish everyone a safe and happy holiday break and a happy new year. Thanks.
Thank you. Dr. Ng.
Good evening. I want to express my thanks to the staff and students at Heritage High School for allowing me to listen in on the Counseling Advisory Council virtual meeting last Tuesday. It was my first time participating, so I was just there to listen and take it in. It was good to see that the students on the council were so willing to give feedback on how to help improve the counseling staff's work with the students and how to engage the students more effectively and to help them to plan their future. It's really a testament to the leadership at Heritage High School that the line of communication is so open between the students and the staff. I hope that you're all done with your holiday preparations. To all my Jewish friends and neighbors, I hope that Hanukkah was filled with wonderful memories with your family. The Festival of Lights is a special remembrance of a miracle, and I believe that miracles can and still happen. As Christmas comes along next week, I want to reflect on a poem by the American poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. His poem, Christmas Bells, was written on Christmas Day in 1863 during the height of Civil War. His son, who enlisted to fight with the Union Army, was severely wounded a month before at the Battle of Mine Run. At the time, he wasn't sure whether his son was going to make it. Longfellow was also still heartbroken from his wife dying in an accidental fire 2 years prior. In the poem, he shared his grief at what he was facing in his world, but ended it with a glimmer of hope. The poem was eventually set to music, and no, I am not going to sing. But it goes like this. I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and mild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And thought how, as the day had come, the belfries of all Christendom had rolled along the unbroken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then later it says, it was as if an earthquake rent the hearthstones of a continent and made forlorn the households born of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. So this song has become a classic of the Christmas season, and I believe that its message is still fitting in our times, no matter where you are on your faith journey. So have a Merry Christmas and a safe and peaceful winter break.
Thank you. Mr. Hershey.
Thank you, Chair Haggerty. First, apologies if I cough, and for all those who have a cough, I feel your pain. Three items. First, I want to thank Dr. Taylor, our Wake County public school attorneys, for their leadership as it relates to our leadership academies and the issues with St. Augustine's. I want to continue to ensure our parents and our students that our highest levels of staff are working on the problems. I want to let you know, speaking extremely confidently, that you have the support of our full board. We love our leadership academies. I thank them for inviting me to the Women's Leadership Academy, for inviting me to their PTA meeting and giving me a chance to speak and answer some questions. But I just want to thank staff in particular for their hard work on it. It's not an easy issue, but to the parents, we are working hard on it, and this is all about our students. They come first in this issue, and we will continue to provide updates as we have them. Second, there was just a little bit of concern over the last couple of weeks about a rally for justice at Wakefield High School. There was regarding the Israeli and Palestinian conflict, which is, of course, incredibly complicated. I don't know everyone's background, but as a board member who lights the Hanukkah candles, I attended the rally just to so someone on the board could have eyes on it, and the concerns about anti-Semitism or intimidation of Jewish students went completely unfounded. The students that I have heard and observed were well informed, they were respectful, they were passionate about their causes, everything we should want in students. It was fantastic, and there was in no way any sort of attempt to intimidate, and I think a lot of credit should go to Principal Bazell. I apologize if I mispronounced his name. But his leadership, he met with both groups prior to the rally because he knew about the community concerns. And just the whole staff at Wakefield did an outstanding job. The students did an outstanding job. And ultimately, the concerns of the community it was much ado about nothing, as I have said to others. If anyone has any concerns, they can contact me directly because I was there. Lastly, I want to thank Douglas Elementary School and Douglas PTA for hosting our BAC meeting. The entire session was dedicated to transportation. I want to raise a couple of points here at the board. There is a feeling or a sense that maybe we could do a better job at communicating with our schools some of the possibilities that we're talking about when it comes to transportation. There was a sense that they really didn't know what was going on. That was what I got out of it. That they're not really ever made aware until it just kind of happens. So as we have these transportation meetings, I would encourage us to be very proactive in reaching out to our principals on that. A repeated theme was, what are we doing for behavior problems on buses? That is from pretty much every principal. And so the question I would pose to staff and that I would like to hear about is, what are we doing differently? That if things are not working, how are we changing? How are we meeting the needs of our staff to support our bus drivers and our principals? Whether it is poor behavior on buses or bullying, I would like to know what we are doing differently from 3 years ago, from 6 years ago. What should we do different going forward? Because this is an issue that we hear about frequently, and we want to help our students as much as we can and prioritize, of course, the safety. And as I think Ms. Caulfield spoke about last board meeting, is oftentimes we know who the bullies are, and they repeatedly have this behavior. So what are we doing differently to intervene to prevent continued bullying? Because as someone who was bullied in high school, it stays with you, and so this is a priority for me. And so I would like staff to kind of present that to us at some point. What are we doing differently, and what can we do better? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hershey. Coming back around the table, swinging the other way, we'll go to Mr. Swanson.
All right. Thank you. I was able to write out my remarks this time, so hopefully I do not forget anything, and hopefully I don't take any of Ms. Johnson-Hostler's thunder, but I have to say thank you to the Cary High Interact Club for inviting Ms. Johnson-Hostler and I to walk with them at the Cary Christmas Parade. And so it was great to see so many friends and family out there as they were celebrating the holiday spirit and passing out candy, although we ran out a couple of times. It's an understatement. We ran out quite a bit. But it was great to see so many of the kids out there and running into some of our county commissioner friends as well. I would also like to thank Principal Allen and Dr. Sexton for the tour of Reedy Creek Elementary School. It is always a great opportunity to see what is happening every day in our schools and to hear and witness the great learning that has taken place. And then that same evening, I was able to attend their cultural arts night, where they were able to highlight various aspects of their school culture and really allowing their staff members to share parts of their culture as well. So thankfully for them, I missed all the dancing because I was not going to embarrass myself, but was really able to see those students and families really engage. And then I had the opportunity of reading to the fifth graders at Farmington Woods Elementary School last week, and the book that Ms. Pierce had picked out was Saving America's Beaches, which was really showing students the importance of using their voice to talk about those changes that they would like to see in the world. And if you're familiar with the Farmington Woods learners, they are very engaged in tackling big issues that are affecting their community. And a lot of them had shared that they had actually started doing research on pollution and various things that's causing harm to our communities. The students also were able to take some of the pieces that the author had shared about the young lady was using her voice to advocate for policies around pollution at the beach that she grew up. And so the students actually learned what board members are, and so they wanted to know if I was Mrs. Pierce's boss, if I was able to write policies to extend their recess, change the dress code, and thankfully I did say those are all school-based decisions, and that is your principal. And so they did decide they were going to do some research and write us some letters about some things that they would like to see change. So that was great. And then I was also able to go back and surprise Mrs. Pierce, who was, as Dr. Taylor mentioned, our 2024 Central Region Principal of the Year by DPI. So many great things happening, and it was such a great surprise to her. And as we were able to surprise, and so I know Dr. Sexton and I were actually, and Dr. Chavis was there to read some books as well. And so, Dr. Taylor, next year you'll have to come back and read to those students. And actually, we hope that you'll join us in the parade as well. So those are the great things that we're doing. So I will conclude by saying happy holidays to all of those, and we get to save the best for last, Mr. Chair.
See, y'all couldn't see what Miss Johnson-Hostler was doing over here. Mr. Swanson was speaking, so he's getting a little bit of revenge by putting her on the spot. So we don't have any walk-up music for you, Miss Johnson-Hostler, but you can finish us off.
Absolutely, thank you. I was kindly trying to use my grandmother charm over here with Mr. Swanson. It did not work. I'm going to practice harder next time. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Mr. Swanson. Again, you've already heard from one of my colleagues. No surprise to everyone, you all know I'm a diehard cheerleading fan, so congratulations to all of our student athletes. Again, I have to remind us that they are student athletes for our cheerleaders at both their Wake County and their state conferences, and congratulations. The beauty about cheer, and it's a conversation in my house because and married to a coach is if multiple people can win the same award, is it really a competition? I say that it is. They are winning on very different talents that they're looking for in the scoring. So congratulations to all those athletes. Also, congratulations to our Ballantine Fireflies. It's been a while since I've talked about their Lego League. They're one of our I think they are the school with the longest standing Lego League teams in Wake County Public Schools. And so post-COVID, this is their first time back in the championship. So I'm very glad to see our Fireflies at Ballantine Elementary School back in the Lego League and made it to the regional competition. So we'll keep sending our well wishes to our students, but also to all of the adult advisors and the volunteers who assist our little Fireflies. And also, as long as I've been on the board, I have not known about this. And so I did a little bit of research and actually went to the Chick-fil-A in Garner who sponsored this. Thank you to Chick-fil-A in Garner for their Leadership Academy and their participation with South Garner High School students. The goal for the Chick-fil-A Leadership Academy is to distribute 1 million books, and the South Garner High School students were able to do 1,000 books in 3 elementary schools: East Garner Elementary, Barwell Elementary, and Bryan Road Elementary. So again, always great to hear about the public-private partnerships with our schools. And that concludes my comments, and everyone have a restful and rejuvenating winter break.
All right, thank you, Ms. Johnson-Hostler. So at this point, we're at the point on our agenda where we will approve the agenda. So is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Let's see, I'll take the motion from Ms. Edmonds, second from Ms. Vice Chair Waters. All in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the meeting agenda has been approved.
I thought,
Mr. Malone?
I'm sorry, I thought you were going to amend the agenda to add the personnel item before the next closed session.
We had talked about that. I didn't see anybody offer the amendment, and I zoomed right by it. I think voting on it at the end. So, Mr. Malone, we can move to add an item to the agenda. We can move to amend the agenda in progress. It just takes a different motion. Is that right?
Yes, I mean, yeah, you can do that. You can do it now. You can just do another motion now to amend it.
Mr. Chair, I will amend the motion to note the change that will approve our employment. I can't remember where they're called.
To address the human resources appointments that we
Even
approved
the
in
chair,
closed
sorry,
session?
Chair. No, I put you on the spot. You're like, I don't know, Monica. Yes, to approve our human resources appointments.
Second.
All right. We do have a motion, and we do have it from Ms. Johnson-Hassler and a second from Ms. Edmonds to amend the agenda to add consideration and approval of those human resources appointments that were made in closed session. All in favor of making said amendment to the agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Swanson was thinking about it? No? Okay. Thank you. So now the amended agenda has been approved. And continuing on with the amended agenda, our next item will be an information item from the superintendent. Yes, sir, Mr. Swanson.
I realize why my hesitation was there. We have to capture Ms. Mahaffey's vote since she's on the WebEx.
Because it was a roll call vote.
Roll call.
Yeah.
So Mr. Swanson is correct. So let's take that vote again. Roll call vote. I'll go around the table. Well, hold on, Mr. Hershey. I will call your name prior to the vote, and I will go around the table so we can capture Ms. Mahaffey's vote. All right? All right. All in favor of adoption of the amended agenda? We'll go around the table. Mr. Hershey? Dr. Ng? Ms. Edmonds? Ms. Mahaffey?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Vice Chair Waters? Ms. Johnson-Hostler?
Aye.
And Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
I believe it's unanimous. All right, the amended adoption has been properly recorded. And at this point, I will tell you that I have gotten some materials coming to us to assist us in parliamentary procedure that will be coming in 2024, and you've just shown that it was a wise investment. All right. So now, Dr. Taylor, after all of that, I will turn it over to you. Dr. Superintendent Taylor will provide an update on the activities of the 100-day transition plan and share initial information on the themes identified with the feedback. Dr. Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can tell you that I've had a really great time these past several months in the district, and I just wanted to provide a quick update to the board of what has transpired over these last 80 days. I was in a meeting with Mrs. Mahaffey, and she reminded someone that I had been in the district for 65 days, and so I said I better start counting these days. So I think it's actually 80 calendar days and roughly 50 school days. So this has really been a great process for me. One of the things I want to do is definitely share about the input process that I've used during this process, and I think someone is going to be driving a PowerPoint for me at some point. Oh, there you go. All right. But this has, I think, been really the most important part of this work that I've been able to do is to really get out and get feedback from the community. Part of that has been working with the 9 area attendance areas. We had focus groups. We also had a student focus group. This was one of the really great processes to be able to get feedback from students about what was important to them and what we were doing that was great and how we level up. The same with the teacher advisory team focus group, as well as the principal focus group, the central services focus groups. And I've just taken tons of notes, and I'll talk briefly about the community roundtables. But we had over 6,000 comments. And I've also had an opportunity to look at past survey data. These are all the focus points or data points that I've used to really guide what I've done over the last 100 days and where I go from there. I know many of you had an opportunity to attend the roundtable events. I can tell you that this event turned out probably 1,000 times better than I had imagined. We talked to over roughly 1,600 participants, which was a huge number. I can tell you that the first 2 events that we had that were on the same day, we got a lot of requests to be excused from the meeting because they didn't know what to expect. But I think by the time we got to the McKimmon Center, people were crashing the meetings because they wanted to be a part. So I hope that's a tribute to what the participants were able to do. So you can see the numbers in terms of the number of people that we talked with. I do want to say that of those community partners, that did include parents, civic leaders, business partners, people from higher ed, and so the feedback that we received from them was tremendous. The student roundtable did include both middle and high school students. We had contemplated taking it down to elementary, but we wanted to leave it at middle school then, and that feedback, I think, was tremendous, and one of the greater events that we had to hear from students on a rainy day. And I can tell you, I think 98% showed up to be a part of that. So it was a wonderful opportunity to hear from our students. I'll talk briefly about the 5 goals, and I know as board members you are familiar with these, both from when I had the opportunity to interview with the board and what I've discussed at various BAC meetings and other events. I've talked about the relationship piece and relationship building, and I do want to share with you that part of this 100 days has been visiting so many different venues in the community, whether that's meeting with commissioners, meeting with town managers, law enforcement, deans from universities. What I can tell you is that all of these people have shared with me what is important to them as it relates to Wake County Public Schools, but more importantly, how they want to be able to engage with the school. I've taken those same opportunities to engage with stakeholders. I've visited so many different departments. I've visited a number of schools. I know the board looked at me to say, you have an ambitious goal to visit every school by the end of the year, but I can tell you that that work is going really, really well, and I absolutely love what I'm seeing in the schools. I do want to highlight what the transition team has been able to do for me. They have been integral in the planning of the roundtables, as well as collaborations we've had with the senior leadership team, as well as planning the Share Out event that we will have on 25 January at Broughton High School. And they've really given me the guidance of the events that I should attend over the 100 days. And as I've shared with everyone, this team has been integral in making sure that my 100 days is meaningful. One of the things that has really stood out to me is goal number 3 in terms of the fiscal and organizational health. What I've determined and what I've discovered during this particular phase is that we've got to pay close and strong attention to our organizational structures. I can tell you that I'll have to say hats off to the Central Services Organization, because we do have a structure that is designed to support way less than the number of schools that we have. And I would say that support structure is really about 120, 130 schools. So part of what I'm now doing is looking at school districts and organizations that are similar in size to Wake County, and to look strongly at what those structures are to support systems of that size. But that is an area where I know we are going to have great attention. Everyone that knows me knows that the instructional practices is huge for me. I can tell you that we are engaging in an academic reorg. I do like the work that Dr. Stacy Wilson Norman is doing, and she will be sharing more about that. I know the board has even recognized that we want to do more with principal coaching, and so that is a structure that we are addressing. We know that strong structures to support, to provide support across the board is really important, and so I talked about this focus for supporting low-performing schools. But what I can tell you is that while they may have the low-performing status, what I do recognize is that they are doing a lot of work to grow, and so we want to do that. But that structure also has to be how we support student performance in all schools, not just low-performing schools. So I know the board has paid close attention to that. And last but certainly not least, when it comes to our strategic plan, what I'm doing these 100 days is looking to make sure that what I plan to do in terms of leadership does align with the strategic plan. And there's opportunities to vet what we have put in the strategic plan. And these roundtables that have been conducted have given us the opportunity to make sure that we are tracking in the right directions, and we do have the right components in the strategic plan, and we can go back and make subtle adjustments based on the conversations that we've had. So I'll end with the reporting event that I will do in January, and this is going to be, I think, the culmination of this 100 days, and ultimately what I want to be able to do is to share what our community has identified as those celebrations. One of the things that was very important to me is that I know and understand what the community believes that we're doing well, and how they want to continue to see those things happening. And so I've had that opportunity to not only hear from our public, but also to see those things with my own eyes. What has been really important to me is talking about how we level up as a district. And so we've talked about how we are the largest district in the state and the 15th largest in the nation. But the community has shared a great deal about what they believe is necessary in order for this district to level up. And so they've talked tremendously about equity, how important that is. They've talked about resource allocation, how we need to look at how we allocate resources, how we need to identify where we need additional resources. I think one of the biggest concerns that I've seen from the community is teachers, and how we ensure that we have quality teachers. We know that we are struggling with teacher shortages across the nation, but now that is absolutely impacting Wake County. So that is a concern to our parents. But when we talk about leveling up, we've had conversations with our community about how we become the premier district. And so they've shared all of those different components about how we do that, not just being large, but also being great. They've acknowledged some of the problems that we've identified in the district. One of those is when I talked about our organizational structure. And so they identified those same things, what we can do to have better communication. So I'll end that event talking about my charge to the community, again, that strategic plan alignment, specifically about what the community can do to support the work that needs to be done. And what I wanted to do was to make sure that we were in line with our community, and so that if it's something that's important to them, then it makes it that much easier for us to talk about it and engage the public about doing that. And certainly about the partnerships that we can develop, the resources that we will use, and really the visible changes that they will be able to see moving forward from that 100 days. And so for the sake of time, I will end there, but I will tell you that the last 80 days have been outstanding. You all know I've been burning the rubber and getting to as many places as I can. And so I look forward to the report out event, and I do hope that all board members will be able to be in attendance. But I know my board chair will be there because I have a place on the program for him. So, but thank you. If there are any questions, I'll certainly answer those. But if not, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Are there any questions for Dr. Taylor? Just, this is sort of a sneak peek at some of the great work that's been done so far, and obviously we'll get a much deeper chance to get involved in this later on. But if anyone has a burning question, we'll take it right now. Vice Chair Waters.
Not a question, but just a comment. I'm just super grateful of how accessible you have been. I've heard numerous times that a lot of our community members have not met the superintendent before, and I think that is so special to be able to see you out in the community, to see you in schools, and I know that requires a lot of work and a lot of effort, but it is very meaningful to community members, to teachers, to families, and to the kiddos most of all. But so thank you for prioritizing being accessible.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that as a large district, it's extremely hard for the superintendent to be accessible, but I do know that that's very important to the community, and I can tell you I'll continue to do that work as long as I'm able. But staff does encourage me to take a break every now and then, but I am a public servant, and I take that seriously, so thank you, ma'am.
And I also saw Mr. Hershey.
Yeah, so on the 25th, it'll be at Broughton High School.
Yes, sir.
That is in
Yes, sir.
District 6. I will most certainly be there. One question about that, though. Will people be invited? If there are people that we know that would like to be there, is there a process that we should inform you or somebody else?
Yes, so what I would say is reach out to me or Leanne Alford, and
Okay.
she's taken those names down. So we are inviting people. I think we're planning for roughly 3,500 people. And
Fantastic.
and so just get in contact with us, and we'll make sure that those people have seating that you want to invite.
Thank you so much.
All right, Mr. Swanson.
I just had a comment, not a question, just echoing what Ms. Waters said. And, thank you for hitting the ground running, and which is something you said in your interview. And you are definitely a man of your word and doing the Lord's work. And so I appreciate that. And it's great to just see how you are zigzagging this big district. And so I'm grateful, and hopefully you'll get some rest over this break as well, so you can kick into the second gear. So you have our support, and looking forward to this community report out. So thank you, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I'm just checking online. Make sure no comments from Ms. Mahaffey. All right, or have you received a comment or question?
No, I was just checking to make sure, but I haven't missed it.
All right, Ms. Johnson-Hostler.
I certainly echo my colleagues' sentiments and appreciate it. My question is, because you have been accessible, and I also appreciate that you've been open to the push to make all of our events more accessible to people. If we have not explored the option, 3,500 is a lot of people for one space, but it definitely is still a drop in the bucket to our district. So do you know if this will be live streamed or recorded so that it's available for other community members to
Yes,
watch?
as I understand it, we're going to live stream it, and we're also considering doing some additional events, if you will, in other districts after this one. So that is part of the plan.
Perfect. That is very exciting. I'm so glad we're moving into the 21st century in 24.
All right, any final comments around the first 100 days, the report out, or anything else from our superintendent's information item? All right, well, as you've heard, Dr. Taylor, our board is very excited and looking forward to this, and we just want to commend you on all the good work. So
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. So at this point on the agenda, we come to the public comment portion. Speakers commenting on the night's agenda will be heard before speakers commenting on other topics. And as you know, we have a new policy that allows students addressing the board to be given priority to speak first. Only the person speaking at the podium will be able to stand. Again, all attendees that are not speaking are to remain seated. If you've had to leave the room, please do not remain in the building, as only this room is available to the public. Otherwise, the rest of the building is closed because it's after hours. If the public comment portion of the agenda exceeds 30 minutes, board policy states that the board chair reserves the right to conduct other board business before inviting the remaining speakers to the podium. Members of the public are welcome to offer comments or criticism directed at substantive ideas, actions, or procedures of the board and individual board members. The laws and policy of North Carolina provide that issues or concerns involving individual personnel or individual student matters are confidential and therefore are not appropriate for public comment settings. Those offering comments to the board, including students, may discuss issues and matters of general concern. In the interest of maintaining civility and decorum, speakers are encouraged to address their comments to the Board of Education and must refrain from personal attacks and insults directed at the board, individual board members, staff, or members of the public. Again, just direct your comments this way to the board. You may hear from other speakers you may not agree with or disagree with, but again, the public address is to the board. Any materials you wish to share, I know some members have brought some materials, please share those with our board attorney, Mr. Rod Malone here, and they will be either before or after your comments, and they'll be distributed to everybody, and they will be made part of the public record. During public comment, you may speak for up to 3 minutes. Please note the microphones up here are adjustable. When you begin, the green light at the podium will illuminate, showing you that your 3 minutes have begun. A yellow light will light up with an audible tone when there's 30 seconds remaining. When your speaking time is up, you'll see a red light and hear another audible tone. When your time is up, the next speaker will be called to the podium. Speakers are asked to respect the time limit and speak for no more than the 3 minutes. At this point, we will turn to our list of speakers for tonight. And per policy, we, again, grant students priority on the agenda. So our first student is Rowan Bilodeau. Roman?
Hi. Good evening, board members. Today I want to talk about bullying, which is a large topic, so I'll specifically talk about my experience. First, I would just like to say that I am starting to get really tired of hearing people say that we need to stop focusing on equity and inclusion because those and bullying are very interconnected. As I've said before, I'm trans and I'm queer. I've been bullied for quite a few things, but those tend to be the biggest. The bullying ranges from like petty taunting to severe harassment. I experience it every day at school. In the hallway, in the bathroom, in class, on the bus, in the cafeteria, the list goes on. I transferred to this school in mid-November, and I've been dealing with this treatment since then. It's been taking a toll on my performance in school because it's emotionally exhausting, makes me uncomfortable, makes me feel unsafe, and takes up a lot of my focus. Some examples of what have been happening are in order of uncomfortable to awful. People laughing and pointing and staring at me in the hallways, catcalling and moaning at me, taking pictures and videos of me, shoving and pushing me, tripping me, grabbing my butt, asking me to pull my pants down, trying to pull my pants down, trying to lift up my shirt, telling me I'm ugly and disgusting, asking if they can pay me for sex, asking to see me naked, trying and sometimes succeeding to show me their genitals, telling me I should kill myself, and the two worst, threatening to kill me, usually said in a joking manner, but it's not funny, and threatening to show me what a real man is, which if you don't know is threatening to assault me. All of these happen because of things I can't change about myself, and it happens at school. And it really messes with my mental health, so I'd just like to ask, do you think that teaching about equity and diversity is so unimportant? And do you think that bullying and mental illness will get any better if we intentionally remove inclusion? I just want you to sit with that. I'm really tired of being treated like this, and I'm really tired of people vouching for things that would make it worse. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to speakers who are speaking on a topic on tonight's agenda. And our first speaker tonight will be Julie Page, followed by Margaret Bilodeau.
be a minute these days. Sorry, y'all.
No worries. Good evening, Ms. Page.
Good evening. All right. Hello, I'm Julie Page, mom and founder of Moms for Liberty Wake County, and I want to address a few topics tonight. First, Policy 1310, parental involvement. Why do you think schools are charged with student health issues? Why do you insist on opt-out versus opt-in? What are you doing about K through 4 access to gender ideology materials? Why do you call for parent training? Please vote no on this policy tonight so that appropriate changes can be made in line with the Parents' Bill of Rights. Next, the contract with Nothing But Education. I reviewed this thoroughly today. I am beyond shocked and appalled by the waste of over $157,000 of taxpayer money on a networking event claiming to showcase Wake County Schools' innovative educational practices. This when 38% of third grade students cannot read at grade level. You cut the accelerated reader program due to budget constraints, but you can spend our money on a 2-day equity extravaganza, flying in speakers and attendees for $16,000, housing them for $27,000, and feeding them for $58,000, all in the name of Pathways to Excellence and Equity to train thought leadership skills. How in the world can you possibly justify this expenditure? Why are you not using our money wisely on the children? And why is this just now being voted on when the actual process started in September for a February event? Lastly, weapons detection systems. Why do we not have these in Wake County? The stabbing and death at Southeast Raleigh High School happened on Monday, November 27th. There was no detector. 2 days later, in Nash County, a student brought a gun to school, but it was found upon entry by, wait for it, the Evolve Weapons Detection System. The reason the woke mob doesn't want this for Wake, well, it's a school-to-prison pipeline. What a damn joke. How about hurricanes to prison pipeline, Wolfpack to prison pipeline, Blue Devils to prison pipeline, Tar Heels to prison pipeline, RDU Airport to prison pipeline, state legislature to prison pipeline, Taylor Swift concert to prison pipeline. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Every one of those places and events have metal detectors and police officers. Does that mean they're trying to send people to jail? Absolutely not. They're trying to save lives and make safe places. Safe places? Sounds familiar. Are schools safe places for our kids these days? I contend that no, they are not on many levels. Please open your eyes, open your minds, evolve, and do better. Our kids depend on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Page. Next up is Margaret Bilodeau, and Margaret will be followed by David Orenstein.
Hey there. Hello, Superintendent, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm a mom of 4, and tonight I brought my oldest, who started school in Wake County. She now goes to college in Georgia. I'm here to speak again about Policy 4240, specifically the section addressing child abuse and neglect information and resources for children. Policy 4240 only requires providing information starting in 6th grade, by which point those most vulnerable children have already endured years of abuse conditioning. The family is the dominant primary method of socialization, with other secondary methods of socialization coming into play in early childhood. The home is where children learn what is and is not socially acceptable, how to interact, as well as how to function within society. While for most children the home is a wonderful and nurturing environment, the sad fact is that this is not the case for all children. Whatever is going on in a home is what is normalized for the children being socialized in that home. Society identifies child abuse and neglect as aberrant. However, for children who experience these harmful and damaging occurrences as part of their home life, these things become normal. They don't know what they're experiencing is different than what any other child is experiencing. They don't know what is and isn't abuse, and in fact, they may view abuse as love. According to data collected by the Annie E. Casey Foundation in North Carolina of children who are confirmed by Child Protective Services as victims of any form of maltreatment, 70% are under the age of 10 and 15% are between the ages of 11 and 13. The vast majority of children experiencing abuse at home will have experienced it far before they reach 6th grade. These vulnerable children absolutely need for their secondary methods of socialization to provide them the safety, education, protection, and awareness to address the travesties they're experiencing. They need to see and learn representations of what is and is not healthy and acceptable, and they need to see it as soon as possible so that it can be addressed and they can begin the lifelong healing process. The school is a critical cog in the wheel of child protection. Safeguarding children should be a priority rather than an afterthought. We can't say that we're concerned about the mental health care of all of our students while simultaneously ignoring scientific data which tells us exactly what is hurting kids by passing policies that will directly contribute to negative mental health outcomes. Addressing all forms of childhood maltreatment is absolutely essential for every child at every grade level. Making discussions of all forms of child abuse taboo until 6th grade inhibits prevention and identification, reinforces the secrecy that hides and normalizes abuse, and fails the children who need help the most. Please encompass all grade levels in providing information and resources about child abuse and neglect. Thank you and happy holidays.
Thank you. Our next speaker is David Ornstein, followed by Ricky Albino.
The delegation model currently in effect to manage and care for young students with type 1 diabetes is both ineffective and of serious harm to students who are not yet mature enough to manage their own care. Hello, members of the school board. I've come here today to speak to you regarding the injustices that my daughter and family had to endure in the short time she has attended WCPSS. My daughter is a kindergartner in Wake County Public Schools and has type 1 diabetes. This is a chronic condition in which her pancreas no longer has the ability to regulate her blood glucose levels, and in order to do so, she is reliant on an external source of insulin. As a result, she is battling hyperglycemia, or blood glucose levels which have gone above the range considered safe and can lead to long-term organ damage, and hypoglycemia, or blood glucose levels which have gone below the range considered safe and can lead to serious seizures, diabetic coma, or even death. During her short tenure there, she has experienced inadequate care that if not for regular intervention by my wife and I, she would have most certainly suffered serious harm. The current model requires that a nurse contracted out by WCHHS supervise non-medical professionals to execute a health plan. However, the system is seriously flawed for the following reasons. 1, the nurse is completely inexperienced and poorly trained in the care for type 1 diabetics. I cannot stress this enough. Being an RN does not make someone an expert in type 1 diabetes. 2, the caretakers being delegated are poorly trained by the nurse and are forced to rely upon a health plan they themselves do not understand. And 3, when we tried to educate the caretakers, we were restricted from doing so by the administration, even when they approached us asking for the help. As a result of these factors, my daughter was overdosed on carbs, leading to hyperglycemia, overdosed on insulin, and underdosed on carbs when experiencing hypoglycemia. As a result of these injustices, we had no choice but to demand that the local school nurse be barred from interacting with our daughter. Although this was granted, it did not improve our daughter's situation. Over time, the procedures utilized by WCHHS led to more conflict as they threatened to restrict care when we did not adhere to non-written requirements we never agreed to and forced changes to my daughter's health plan to prevent hypoglycemic events at the expense of causing hyperglycemia. Ultimately, this led to my daughter missing school for 6 weeks while a one-to-one nurse was being recruited. My daughter had returned to school, where our nightmare continued as it became evident that local staff members who had opposed her necessary care may have been influencing the nurse to the point where she had changed overnight from being a warm and friendly person to someone who was cold and falsely accused us of misconduct and then ultimately resigned. When my daughter was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, I thought that was the most stressful day of my life, but it pales in comparison to what we are experiencing now. And I know my family is not alone in this struggle. Let us not forget that the school buildings are here for the kids, so they may not only be educated, but be provided a foundation for developing a successful life. Yet my daughter's experience has done not much more than extinguish the flames of her excitement to be there.
Our next speaker is Ricky Albino, followed by Jennifer Lobbs. Just in case I've mispronounced it, Ricky Albino. All right, we'll move on, and if Ricky's able to join us before the end, we can add them to the end of the agenda. So then we'll hear now from Jennifer Lobbs, followed by Barbara Walsh. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you guys for allowing me to speak here tonight. I come to you as a parent of children in Wake County Public School System. I am the wife of a teacher in a high school here, and I volunteer in our schools, and I care about our school system very deeply. I listened to the first 100-day speech, and I really applaud you and thank you for coming on board with our school system. One of the things that I heard from you when you first started out was reaching every student every day, and I kind of think of that when I walk into the schools and when I interact with the schools. I want every child every day. That's a lofty goal. One of the things that also rang out when you were talking about social media today, I am a person on Facebook. I don't do it all the time, but if you're passionate about something, they tend to throw a bunch of ads your way. Well, one of the things that caught my eye and that concerned me is that I got a flash for an advertisement. Local public school in your area now enrolling for your student in 2024-2025 school year. And I thought, well, really? You know, and so I clicked on it, and I was frustrated and heartbroken. And I've also seen in driving in other parts of the state and also watching TV, all of the different ads for the schools that are now popping up. It's hard to understand as a parent what is a publicly funded school versus a county public school system, and what are the things that differentiate between our school system and our schools, and what we require to teach and what we require to have. And one thing that I'm asking is that when you move forward with responding to some of the mandated laws that you have to advertise and talk about other opportunities for families and students to apply to or a chance to do, I implore you to have on there what it is that the county schools are mandated. I implore you to talk about the diversity, the equity, and that every student every day. So thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Barbara Walsh, followed by John Balog.
I'll drop off my show and share. There you go. So this is leans down, but this is my daughter Sophia, and this is naloxone, the brand name Narcan, and that's what I'm here to talk about. Fentanyl killed my child, but it does not have to kill your students. My name is Barb Walsh. I live in Cary in District 9. I raised 4 children, all of whom were educated K through 12 in Wake County Public Schools, and they were well prepared for college. My 24-year-old daughter, Sophia, was an Apex High grad. She was also a grad from Appalachian State. She was also professionally employed. In 2021, Sophia drank a bottle of water. Unbeknownst to her, this bottle of water contained 8 nanograms of dissolved fentanyl, which is colorless and odorless. She died instantly because naloxone was not administered and 911 wasn't called. Sophia is an example of how quickly and how easily fentanyl kills. She is also the reason why I'm speaking to you today, because I don't want another family in Wake County to feel this pain. On October 30th, President Biden and the U.S. Department of Education issued a letter to all educators and administrators, and that is in the packet, to ensure that every school has naloxone and has prepared its students and faculty on how to use it. Naloxone saved lives, just like fire extinguishers, defibrillators, and EpiPens. Wake County School Board takes student safety and security seriously. That is why it requires all 75 school resource officers to carry Narcan or naloxone. However, there are 199 schools in the Wake County Public School System, meaning 124, or 62%, do not have life-saving naloxone in their building. These schools are at risk of experiencing a fatality, not if, but when an opioid or fentanyl emergency occurs. 876 Wake County residents have been killed by fentanyl in the last 9 years. Students are Wake County residents. You may not have experienced a fatality yet, but it's coming. Ask our neighbors in Virginia. Fentanyl is a powerful synthetic opioid with legitimate medicinal uses. However, today's youth are dying from illicit fentanyl and counterfeit pressed pills, illegally made to look like Xanax, Adderall, OxyContin, and Percocet. Fentanyl poisoning is now the leading cause of death in America's youth. Charlotte Mecklenburg School is not waiting for NCDPI to issue state policy. They are moving forward to stock naloxone in all schools. I encourage Wake County School Board to do the same. Please educate teachers and staff on the symptoms of fentanyl emergencies. This can be done annually on video training.
Thank you, Ms. Walsh.
You're welcome.
And again, if you have additional comments that you weren't able to make, you can give those to our board attorney and he'll
They are in the
distribute them.
packets.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we do have John Baylog, and Mr. Baylog will be followed by Zell Lucas. Good evening, Mr. Baylog.
Good evening, school board members. I hope you had a blessed Hanukkah and we'll have a blessed Christmas. I'm going to jump down. Dr. Taylor, thank you for speaking to the universities. They're your stakeholders and they get the products from the high school. So hopefully our students that graduate are meeting or exceeding their expectations so you can understand what the schools need to do. Thank you for doing that. Forbes magazine states in a tweet, Elon Musk boldly declared, DEI must DIE. You're probably not going to like this subject. His critique addresses a real issue. Certain DIE initiatives initially aimed at ending discrimination may inadvertently introduce new forms of unfairness. Musk's concerns about rigid quotas and decisions based solely on representation rather than qualifications have logical merit. Policies that prioritize diversity at all costs can foster resentment in those left behind and paradoxically ultimately end up undermining the intended goals of DEI. Elon can send a rocket up into space and have it land on a landing pad, so he probably has a pretty good idea working with people and whatever he has to do to get this job done. DEI is a form of racism against top performers. When you introduce the DEI agenda, the best and the brightest are bypassed in many cases. Students who put time in and go the extra mile to strive for the best grade they can attain will see their hard work bypassed in the name of equity. Equity is not equality. Those students who excel must be given the path that allows them to grow. So we can have equity, but we can't leave top performers in the dust. I left a large organization building hospitals all around here because I was told to do just that. I said, no, I'm done. You are doing the DEI agenda, but there is no line item in your budget. In order to truly be transparent, can we have made public the salaries and other costs for the DEI agenda on your website budget, please? Also, I read a disturbing report this week about North Carolina. The headline reads, at least 64 education employees arrested in 2023. 57 of those had a sexual component. I don't have enough info to get too deep into it. I'm going to start digging it up. But just to this point, many of us stand here to implore you to use common sense and age-appropriate restrictions of sexual materials, primarily the school libraries and other materials that are being handed out. Hopefully, there will be a positive change in 2024. As King Jehoshaphat prayed, we do not know what we should do, but our eyes are on you. I pray that for each of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Balog. Next speaker is excuse me, it's Mr. Zell Lucas, and he'll be followed by Lakia Dunn.
Good evening. We appreciate you all so much. You have a tough job here. You may have heard my name, my company name, Lucas Transportation. I've been around up front for the last 37 years doing this business. I've got to tell you, the first 20 years, 37 years, a long time working with special kids. The first 20 years was great. The last 15 to 16 years has not been so great because, and we won't call any names here, because of a director there for the special transportation. I fully believe myself that he came in with a mission, and that mission was to eliminate the local vendors. And he did so by putting obstacles and even tricks there to get rid of the local vendors. And they're all gone but me, the longtime vendors. Lucas Transportation still standing there. The biggest trick was 6 years ago when he actually called the local vendors and said, look, he formed a committee and said, you got to come stand before this committee and give us 5 minutes, a 5 or 10 minutes presentation. And vendors, only half of the vendors showed up then, so we lost the others. They didn't show up. And it was because they knew that it was another trick. I did show up there, and I found out, yes, it was a trick. There was one vendor, an out-of-state vendor, that was called there, that was not there. They sent a 5-minute video, and they were awarded 90% of the contract. And, you know, something is wrong with that picture, but I just want to say this. I don't know if this is the right place to do this, but I want to do this, say this, and for the record, write it down. I am giving my resignation. I'm going to follow the contract. I'm going to honor my contract. I'm giving a 90-day notice. And that's following the contract, right? A 90-day notice. That means come March, I believe it's March 18th, Zell Edward Lucas will not be there. And I regret that because I love my job. I love what I do. So I want, for the record, the 17th, and I regret this. I hate it for the kids. So you win, sir. But so many of our children with special needs lose, and it hurts me to my heart to see this happens. I don't know if this has ever been done before or not, but to come before the school board and give the resignation, saying this is it. But please, I ask you this: please pay attention to our kids with special needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. All right. Our next speaker, Lakia Dunn, followed by Jim Walsh. Is Ms. Dunn here tonight? All right, then we will move on with the agenda. Jim Walsh will be our next speaker, followed by, also had Ms. Lakia Dunn signed up a second time. So unless Ms. Dunn shows up, Jim, you'll be finishing us off tonight.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And to all those who celebrated Hanukkah, I trust their celebration of the light was successful. I am mixed and somewhat perplexed. Since I am not a parent, how can I talk about any item regarding how our county's public education is conducted or protected? Current policies have been set up protecting the interchange between a parent and the school I'm very glad to see this action being taken and look forward to our parents taking advantage of every interaction opportunity they have. Congratulations on the process and looking for much, much more. We must ensure the focus of Lake County Public Schools is an echo of the values of what parents, citizens, business, and technology is demanding for a successful future for the student. How can this be done if input to decision-making is being limited by removing citizen input and insight? I look at the issue like a story a friend shared with me. So I see a burglary in process. Do I call the police? Do I let them know what I'm seeing? Do I give them information supporting what I'm seeing? Can this information be provided for the safety of the responding officers? Am I providing valuable input which can be interpreted into sustainable action? The answer to these questions is obviously yes. The information is valuable to the officer on the phone with me who is interpreting and relaying the information. Who knows, the information might even be valuable in court. So where is the avenue for a taxpayer with regards to our school system? I live in a state where over 60% of my taxes go to you all to educate our children. I do not have the ability to provide input and feedback as to how our education system works. Really? Yes, of course, I can state a viewpoint from here in this forum, and it is the only place for my voice, or request interaction to be voiced. However, since I'm not a parent, what value are my comments to the board of the principal or school, since policies block my ability to contribute? Here's a great example. As a taxpayer, State Bill 49 is coming due, and I haven't seen a word of what you're going to do.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. All right, that concludes the public comment period. At this point, according to our agenda, we'll move on to consideration of our consent items. Board members have all of the items listed on the agenda for your review. If you've had time to properly review them, is there a motion concerning the consent agenda at this time?
So moved.
We have a motion from Ms. Johnson-Hostler, a second from Mr. Swanson for adoption of the consent items. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I'm sorry, we have to do that again. We'll go around the table. Mr. Hershey? Dr. Ng? Ms. Edmonds? Ms. Mahaffey? Ms.
Aye.
Thank you. I will say aye. Vice Chair Waters? Aye. Ms. Johnson-Hostler?
Aye.
And Mr. Swanson?
Aye.
Sounds like it's a unanimous vote. The motion passes. So following this, we'll move to our action agenda. Let me scroll down. One item tonight, but it's an important one. We will hear from, excuse me, went too far. Sorry, Mr. Nieder. Adoption of the 2023-2024 annual budget resolution. Mr. Nieder, at this time, if you'd like to begin the presentation.
Yes, thank you, and good evening, Chair Haggerty, members of the board, and Superintendent Taylor. Tonight, we are asking to take the final formal step in approving the board's 2023-2024 operating budget. Going back to April of this year, we presented the superintendent's proposed 23-24 operating budget to the board. And since then, the board has conducted multiple work sessions on the proposed budget. The board has held a public hearing on the budget. The board has adopted the board's proposed budget and submitted it to the county commissioners as required by state statute. And the board has adopted an interim budget resolution to allow the district to continue to operate effective July 1, the beginning of the fiscal year, without yet at that point knowing what the final state budget was. Upon finalization of the state budget, staff presented to the board budget reconciliation recommendations at your October 17th meeting, and at that same meeting, we presented to the board recommended salary schedules for all staff for the 2023-2024 year, and the board did approve both the recommendations for reconciliation of the budget as well as the salary schedules. In November of this year, staff implemented the 2023-2024 salary schedules, including retroactive pay for all staff to make those changes effective as of July 1st. And now finally, with those new salaries aligned within their respective budget codes throughout the district's budget, we're bringing to you this evening the final balanced budget resolution for the 2023-2024 school year, including detail by purpose and function as required by state statute for your consideration approval. I now ask for that consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Nieder. Board members, you've seen the budget resolution that has been posted. Do we have a motion at this time?
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Hershey, a second from Ms. Johnson-Hostler. Is there any discussion or any questions about the budget resolution? All right. Well, at that point, again, everyone has had time to see and review the resolution. If there's no discussion or no questions, Mr. Nieder, I will take a vote. All in favor of the budget resolution. Again, we're going to go around. Everyone's pointing. It took me twice, Mr. Swanson caught me, but the third time he just had to glare and I knew. So, starting again, Mr. Hershey.
Aye.
Dr. Ing. Aye. Ms. Edmonds. Aye. Ms. Mahaffey.
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Vice Chair Waters. Aye. Ms. Johnson-Hostler. Aye. And Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
Again, another unanimous vote. We have approval of the budget resolution. Thank you, Mr. Nieder.
Thank you.
Okay. So, at this point, because we already amended the agenda, we already approved the HR items that were adopted in closed session, we will need to return to closed session to go back to consider confidential personal information.
Chair Haggerty?
Yes,
Did we
sir.
actually approve the HR?
Oh, we only put it on the agenda?
Yes.
All right. Well, in that case, I would entertain a motion.
I would make a motion that we approve the HR recommendations that we approved in closed session.
All right. We have a motion for Mr. Hershey. We have a second for Ms. Johnson-Hostler. Again, we will go around the table unless there's any debate or any questions. Hope not. All right. Mr. Hershey?
Aye.
Dr. Ing? Aye. Ms. Edmonds? Aye. Ms. Mahaffey?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Vice Chair Waters? Aye. Ms. Johnson-Hostler? And Mr. Swanson? All right. We will record that as another unanimous vote. And the human resource recommendations made in closed session will be adopted. All right, then, at this point on our agenda, I would entertain a motion to consider confidential information, to move into closed session, again, return to closed session, to consider confidential personnel information protected under North Carolina General Statute 143-31811, A6 and 115C319. Mr. Malone?
Aren't we dealing with the potential real estate matter?
We are.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Maybe I didn't hear you. I thought you said 115C319, which is the personnel statute.
Oh, I was going through all of them. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're going to read them all? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Well, upon advice from counsel, I will skip to the chase, and we will then also consult with our board attorney employed or retained by the board in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the board in regards to the particulars of the acquisition of real property interests for public infrastructure improvements related to Hilltop Needmore Road Elementary school site, and to receive the board's instructions as to the position to be taken on behalf of the board in negotiations in relation thereto.
So moved.
So a motion by Mr. Swanson, a second by Ms. Johnson-Hostler. Again, we'll go around the table. All in favor of the motion to return to closed session? We'll begin with Mr. Hershey.
Aye.
Dr. Ing? Aye. Ms. Edmonds? Aye. Ms. Mahaffey?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Vice Chair Waters, Ms. Johnson-Hostler, and Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
All right, so by unanimous vote, we will return to closed session to consider the items so protected by statute. Thank you very much, everyone.